Good morning, everyone. I hope you're going well. I'm Stephanie Dubidin from Wine Victoria. And I just want to quickly like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners on the lands on which I'm hosting from, which is the Dja Waring people. And I also recognise the traditional owners of the countries on which you all work in today and like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. So today, for those that are joining for the first time, is a series that we're doing with Brand Catalyzer, who's an agency that we're working with and Global Victoria works with in China. They have both offices in China and here in Melbourne, which is great, and worked with us on the recent KOL trip. So looking forward to a great session today. We've also got Helani on from Wine Victoria, and I'll throw to Christy Ding from Brand Catalyzer, who's going to take you through the session. So over to you, Christy.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you, Helani, for organizing everything. And welcome, everyone. My name is Christy from Brand Catalyzer. Before I start, just quickly share my screen. Hope you all had a lovely week so far. And your screen sharing, I think I just need to enlarge it. Let me know if you can see my screen now. Maybe Steph and Halani.
Yep, we can see it.
I think it's just loading. One
Yep.
sec. Amazing, great. So welcome to the workshop 3. If you missed out the previous 2 workshops, so feel free to go onto the Wine Victoria's website. There's a record there, and also Helani has sent out all the recording link to everyone. So really highly recommend you to go back to the previous 2 workshops just to learning a little more about the consumer demographics of the wine industry, as well as the whole e-commerce and landscape, and also the online offline status of the food and drinks industry. So yeah, as I said, I'm Christy, head of the client solutions at the Brand Catalyzer. So the series of the workshops will be hosted by myself and also Jenny from our team. So today I will be leading the workshop 3. A quick intro of the Brand Catalyzer if you haven't caught up with the previous workshops. So we are a go-to-market strategy consulting and the marketing agencies. So we worked with a lot of the Australian, especially Victoria business to expand it to China and the Southeast Asia market. And so before going to the workshops 3, I just want to quickly recap of the 3 highlights from the previous workshops that we talked about: the consumer demographics and also the new trend of the behaviors by the young market. So last time they were quickly talked about the high rising of the demographic of the young people now start to drinking more and more, and the way how they appreciate wine or alcohol is slightly different from the old generations, of course. A quick refreshing of your mind is the young consumers now, they are really gradually increasing the whole consumption power. Currently in China, there's a 490 million of potential young drinkers, and equals to around 400 billions market share that your wineries could potentially tap into, and their drinking habits are slightly different. So 4 key highlights: high frequency, so they are always going out with the friends, family, and socializing. So this is a slightly different from the let's say the older generations, that they probably go as less as used to. And also for the young consumers, they are more looking to affordable pricing, giving their incomes and also the lifestyle. So they are not yet looking for the premium wine or premium price range. And also another insights that we found is the wine or the drinks that attracts to them are the innovative packaging, as well as the sweeter flavors are more preferred by the young drinker consumer now. So those are the quick insights of their behavior. And another one is within the whole demographic of the alcohol market. There was a one specific category, what the social is called as a no-low. It's like a no or low alcohol market. So this group of people are growing significantly year on year. So not necessarily as the previously, probably 20 years ago, that most of the people are only drinking spirit or baijiu, those high alcohol percentage choices. But now more and more people started to be aware of their health and also overall drinking behavior. So to slowly reducing their consumption of the alcohol percentage. So the low strength spirit and also those mild alcohol are more preferred by the people. So they are not looking for getting drunk when they are drinking. So they're more kind of like a looking for a comfortable and also tipsy moment that they can really drink moderately and also still have a healthy lifestyle. So this is the big category now, like the people are looking for the low strength spirits or alcohol. And another one that we talked about, like e-commerce versus the overall sales channels in China market. The e-commerce for the food and beverage markets is actually growing very quickly, and also the wine is taking around 13% of the consumption market shares, well in the overall, which including online offline, only 3%. So these figures are still continuing to grow. This is why like we have these kind of the workshops that to really guiding you through of what's the changes and also the landscape in China from the e-commerce and the offline, which I understand that majority of the wineries are relying on the offline traditional way of distribution, but still doesn't means that you can't really look into the e-commerce, which by all of the insight and also markers that we have looked at, that this is the trend that we need to be prepared for, because the younger people, let's say the Gen Z consumers are, most of them, 90% of them are relying on e-commerce for their daily shopping, including alcohol and wine. So yeah, now we're coming to the workshop 3, which is very much like an in-depth look into the Tmall ecosystem, which is the biggest e-commerce marketplaces in China. So if you haven't heard about Tmall, this is the workshop for you. I will give you the guidance from the very top level of the overview Alibaba ecosystem, and also drill down into the Tmall ecosystem, which are the most important marketplaces for any business that who wants to do e-commerce in China. So there are 4 elements or the component of today's workshops. As I mentioned, I'll guide you through from the different choices in the ecosystem of Tmall, and also we can quickly look into the other online food and beverage e-commerce options outside of the Tmall, and I'll give you the recommendations from the short-term and the long-term strategy to formalizing your export market strategy. Great. So for the Alibaba ecosystem, which is the overall of the whole, one of the biggest company groups in China who dominate the e-commerce and also the online trading category, I'll say. So when people heard about like Alibaba, probably not so sure how many business components are within the Alibaba. So this is a map of the Alibaba ecosystem that all the businesses underneath of the Alibaba group. You probably heard about like a Tmall, Taobao, which are the major marketplaces, but underneath there are so many other retail and e-commerce channels that including like a Fresh Hippo, and also the Ali Health, as well as the cross-border global channels like a Tmall Global, AliExpress. So this serves different purpose, and also the channels within the whole e-commerce business, which I will quickly talk about those later on. And the rest of the channels are still within the Alibaba ecosystem, but you probably won't need to engage. But this is a map that to show you how big and also the powerful the Alibaba ecosystem that you can leverage to enable your B2B, B2C online trade and business. So outside of the retail e-commerce, Alibaba ecosystem have the wholesale e-commerce, which are very much focused on the B2B, and also they have a live service, which enable the consumers that to order the daily food, the deliveries, so equivalent to our Uber Eats here, and also they have the travel, they have the entertainment to book the performance shows. So there's a lot more than just the e-commerce. And underneath over here, they have the logistic, and also they have the analytics equivalent to like a Google Analytics for the business to understand in and out of the consumer's data, and also journeys of each of the touch point that I mentioned in the workshop 2, where they can, for the business that they can track from the very beginning touch point of the consumers probably first time saw your ads and towards the conversions point. So they will give you a map of the consumer's journey, how many touch points, and also what's the attribution of each of the touch point that are influencing towards the conversion. So the Alimama, which is the last 3 over here, the icon. So this is the analytics tool for all the business that who are using the Alibaba ecosystem to understand your consumer behaviors. And the last one, like they have the end finance. So this is more like the transaction of your bank account, and also once you have the income from the China local, and if you wanted to transfer overseas to your business, then this is the financial tools that you can leverage. And also the last one, which is Ali Cloud. So those are the all the component or business unit within the Alibaba ecosystem. And then we're looking to the Tmall ecosystem, which are very much focused on the online business. The retail e-commerce, there are 4 big categories. So Taobao, if you have downloaded the Taobao, just play around. There's anything that you can think of or you want to purchase are available from there. And the Tmall, of course, and also Tmall Grocery, and also Tmall Global. So those are the 4 biggest retail e-commerce within the Tmall ecosystem, which I will talk about in detail and the difference between those 4 later. And underneath that, they have the logistic delivery to embed within the retail e-commerce. So when consumers purchase the product from any of those 4 apps, then the logistic tools will embed within this conversion. So it will automatically trigger the orders for the logistic team, and they will dispatch the product straight away. So everything is linked together. And with the data and IT support, that they will enable the brand to have the live streaming, to store all your consumer data within your CRM data or system. And on the left corner side is the payment and finance, enable the business to have your transaction and the reconciliations on daily basis. And advertising market, as I mentioned, those are the so many advertising component that within the retail e-commerce that the brands can buy the traffic and drive more consumers to your stores. And there are also some new retails that not necessarily as limited to online. There's also offline components such as like a Fresh Hippo. They are one of the biggest groceries franchise, or not really franchise, like the group within China that's selling all the fresh food and beverage, alcohol, etc. And also there's other like the Tmall School or Tmall University. So those are you can think as the category focused stores within the Tmall that they have their physical display store near the universities, near the communities that people can just go in and have a look what's the product, have a touch and feel, and then they can straight away order anything from their phone, from the app, and they can deliver to your door within 10 minutes because the store just next to your communities that you don't even need to carry the product to your home, or you can if you want, but you can just have a one button click, confirm, and then the product will be in your door as you walk back to home. So it is really convenient for people to live in China now. And in terms of the market share, I think this is really important for you to understand of the three different components of the e-commerce within the Tmall. So Taobao is still the biggest e-commerce store within the whole Tmall ecosystem, and Tmall is in the premium version. So all the premium products or authorized branded stores are in Tmall. And then Tmall Global is only for the business that who operating from overseas. And also they can have the Tmall Global. So in terms of the market shares, Taobao is still the biggest one, and then second one is the Tmall and Tmall Global. But doesn't mean that the consumers are in this kind of the sizes. The consumers, which I will talk about later on, that still prefer to come to the Tmall Global and the Tmall just because they are looking for the authentic brands product. Taobao product, not necessarily as the authentic brands there who are directly manufactured and also selling through the Taobao. So Taobao can be anyone who wants to open an e-commerce store. Without any trademark authorization letter or anything, anyone can open their Tmall store. So yeah, back to the Taobao. So the Taobao, the platform has the biggest online marketplaces in the world, and the revenue is around 35 or 36 millions in 2022, and it increase every year. And also, this is the go-to shopping platform for majority of the Chinese. And this is the largest C2C platform. So it's not B2C, it's actually C2C. So the difference, as I mentioned, it's individual stores. So you can think as the Amazon. Anyone can open an Amazon store, similar to Taobao. Anyone, if you're willing to, you can open a Taobao store. But for brand, the brand has option to operating Tmall store or Taobao store. But generally speaking, that we would always recommend the brand to open a Tmall store rather than Taobao store, just because the authenticity of the Taobao store is not as strong as the Tmall or Tmall Global, which I'll talk about later on. So 60% of the users for Taobao are under 30. Just because there are more relatively cheaper product available from Taobao. And Tmall over here, which is the B2C platform. So Taobao is the C2C platform, and Tmall is B2C platform, where Chinese consumers can buy product directly from local China entity as well as from international merchants. This is probably the second stage as the Alibaba group that they realized when they started with the Taobao, there's so many random product or cheap and also fraud products available from Taobao, but later on they introduced the Tmall just for the business that who has 100% control of their store and the product. So it's the largest B2C platform, and also they operate different B2C models that, but for consumers, it would give them the insurance of all the product that they purchase from Tmall are directly managed and operated from the brand itself. So they have a strong team within the Tmall team that just to checking across all the product from Tmall, make sure there's no fraud products. or fake products. So this is a really much the brand stores that are happening on Tmall. And Tmall gather around 877 million monthly and also 380 million daily active users by 2023. So majority of the shoppers are women and looking for like a fashion and a daily products. So now it's pretty much anything that you can think of, you can purchase from Tmall. And 75% of year-on-year increase, which is a crazy, the biggest and highest increase within the e-commerce system in China. And up to the Tmall Global, so you might asking what's the difference between Tmall and the Tmall Global. So the Tmall Globals is a cross-border e-commerce platform that allows the consumers to purchase the international product from reputable overseas brand. As part of the Alibaba groups, it's catered to the consumers that who wants to buy the overseas product who are directly shipping from the international or the original country to the consumers. So this brings the world to Chinese consumers basically. Almost 100 monthly active users by this year. So very active brands are also selling over there. I will go down a little bit more detail about the Tmall and the Tmall Global later on, because this is pretty much the two major options that for wineries that needs to look into, and depends on the stages of your business and also your infrastructure of the trade component. Those are the two good options that for you to look into later on. And for the Tmall Global, just one more thing is that 40% of the user are middle to upper income categories. So consumers have the expectations of if they come into the Tmall Global, the price will be slightly different and higher in a way because it's directly purchased from overseas without physically traveling to the destination country. They can come to the Tmall Global to purchase any products that are available from the destination country. So you can think this way that when you go travel overseas, generally you need to pay for a little bit, pay in the local pricing and slightly higher just because the tax, everything. But for the Tmall Global, it's kind of the very specific support from the Chinese government that they have this tax-free component or policies. So for the overseas brand that they exporting to China through the Tmall Global, they don't need to pay for any import and export tax, which is really good incentive for brands to use and leverage the Tmall Global to tap into the China market. So I just thought it would be easier for me to do a little comparison between each of the platform. So Taobao, Tmall, very straightforward, as I mentioned, the C2C and the B2C. And for the target audience for the Taobao are individual consumers or small business, but for Tmall, it's more like more sophisticated consumers or larger business established brands. And for the brand perceptions, consumers come to the Taobao, they are more focused on the domestic brands or the brands that who doesn't have any brand positions. It is a product itself. And also for the Tmall, it's very different. People are looking for the brand, that they know the brand name and they are just looking for that brand, whether it's a local brands or an international brand, but they are looking for that particular brand. And also product offering are slightly different as well. So the main difference of Taobao and the Tmall is for the brand and Taobao is for the individuals. And then Tmall and the Tmall Global, which are very important also difference. So the main differences between the Tmall Global and Tmall is for the Tmall Global, you can think as all the legal entities is outside of China. So for example, if your winery or your company doesn't have a business registered or entity registered in mainland China, which means that you will only be able to use the Tmall Global to set up your stores. However, if you work with a distributor who has the Chinese business entity registered, then you are able to have a mainland then you will be able to tap into the Tmall store. So still depends on whether you have a entity in mainland China or not, but those are the major difference of the Tmall Global and the Tmall. And from the bank account side, because the Tmall Global support the international business, so they will have all those financial transactions towards your original countries. So you don't need to think about whether you need to set up a bank account in China, because the Tmall Global just enabled all the international transactions and the business operating within the ecosystem, that you can just trade as how you normally trade in the local country or domestic market. So this is a major difference. If you need to go into the Tmall flagship store, you will either need to register your business in mainland China or work with a business entity in China who can operate in the stores on behalf of for you. And Tmall stores. So Tmall stores, there are still also two concepts of the Tmall stores that you can use. The first one is the cross-border stores, and second one is the general trade stores. So for the cross-border stores means that your product hasn't got the registered in the local country, which is in China, then you can only either distribute your product directly from Australia to China, or you store your product in the free trade zone, which are appointed by the Tmall team in sometimes in Hong Kong, sometimes it's in the Ningbo. So it depends on which free trade warehouses or free trade zone that you wanted to leverage, and your product is stored within those free trade zone. And once the consumers purchased your product will be dispatched from the free trade zone to the consumers directly. So this is the cross-border stores. And the general trade stores is your product will be registered either by yourself or most of the times by your distributor in China who register everything. So the label will be updated and changed into Chinese label on your wine at the back of the bottle. So those are the two major difference of the cross-border store and the general trade stores. So it still belong to the Tmall. So they operate slightly different, the business models, and also the product source is different. As I mentioned, it depends on where you are storing your product, whether it's in the free trade zone or in the general trade warehouses that buy your distributor. And target consumers are slightly different as well. The people who are coming to your cross-border stores, they have expectations of longer logistic. So generally would take 1 or 2 weeks time that to receive the products. But for the general trade stores, that they will expect a next day delivery because the product are already in China, and also it's in the warehouses that they generally process faster delivery. And the tax policies are slightly different as well, which is very supporting to the Tmall Global stores, where the lower cross-border tax will, for this case, it will be free trade tax for wineries. And also there's a different after-sales services as well. So for the Tmall store, there will be follow the local domestic services like the local tax and as consumer tax as well. So this is the major difference between the cross-border stores and the general trade stores. And this is the brand Tmall journeys that I thought it will be a really good to walk you through of the options, or depends on the stages of your business. So for most of the overseas brands, especially the wineries, that there's a options there for you to use and leverage the cross-border e-commerce, which is the Tmall Global team, to enter the China market without investing hugely of register your product or formalizing a complex the partnership with your distributor, or even putting the effort to finding your distributor. So the Tmall Global give you the option to just dispatch your product from Australia or from Victoria, your own warehouse, to the consumers directly. And this is tax-free as well for the Tmall Global. And because the Alibaba or Tmall team that they are trying to support international brands to come into the China, so they have a very supported team for the Tmall Global that to enable every single component for your business to going into the China. So a lot of the work, such as the logistics, such as the financial transaction or reconciliations, will be done by the Tmall Global team. And once you test the market with a very small budget through the Tmall Global, and you can verify, say, this is actually the market for me, or within the ranges of your SKUs that you have tested out, those 4 hero products that for your brands, and you can take this 4 hero products going to the general trade to say, I need to register these 4 products because I already see there's a transaction and attractions from the Tmall Global by the consumers, and then the general trade will probably more likely to success later on. So this is a journey that the brands can take step by step without investing heavily in the early stage to register your product, or going to a distributor, or set up your own teams in China. And then once you verified and also running your general trade flagship store for a period of time, then you can branching out into 3 different stores as well, which are very interesting. So people thought, once you step into the general trade Tmall stores, then that's the end game. But no, there's other channels that you can explore and also collaborate with other different players in the market. So there are 3 type of the stores that within the Tmall stores. One is the Tmall flagship store, which generally operating by the brand itself. You can use a service provider, what we call it as trade partner, to operating your flagship store, but it still 100% belong to your brand, owning the brand. And then there's a specialty stores which are generally operated by the distributor. So I'll talk about the difference between the 3 stores, but the last is the authorized stores. So those are the 3 stores underneath of the Tmall stores that you can choose, or you can branching out later on to increase your market coverage, whether it's through your own team, or you can collaborate with other different resellers, distributors. This is examples of the Tmall Global store. So you might ask, who are the brands that are operating from the Tmall Global stores? So some big examples as a Chemist Warehouse has been operating on the Tmall Global stores for a long time, and they've been in the market for around 8 years, and now they also have a physical stores in China, 8 stores in China, to enable the consumers to have a physical touch and feel of the product that they are selling from Tmall Global. But the consumers going to the offline stores on the Chemist Warehouse, that they cannot purchase directly in the store, but they can purchase through the app on the Tmall Global. So the offline store is only providing a physical experience for consumers to engage with the brands, not necessarily as that they can take the product straight away from the store. And there's other options as the MetaCash, that they have their own stores on Tmall Global that are selling all the food and beverage that they are operating from there. Similar to the 4 pillars. So you probably aware of the 4 pillars from the Victoria. So they are also running their Tmall Global stores through the cross-border. And the types of the Tmall general trade stores, as I mentioned, there are 3 different types of the store that later on you can branching out. The first one, the flagship stores, generally is trademark plus the flagship stores such as Penfold. Let's just use the Penfold as an example, not the best example, but they have the Penfold flagship store, which is 100% owned by the brand itself, and also they are directly established all the content and also consumers database that through the flagship store. Once they have that flagship store, they can branching out into the specialty stores, which is a company name plus the franchise store. So this one not necessarily as a authorized by the brand, but this you can think this as the distributor stores that they are selling multiple brands within their store. So, for example, Christie's winery stores or liquor stores, I can operating a Tmall specialty stores in Tmall, and I'm selling 100 brands of the wine from Victoria. So this is a specialty store. So this store only selling wine. Doesn't matter I'm selling 2 or 10, but still this is specialty store that enable me to establish in Tmall. And another one is authorized store, which means the naming component is the trademark plus the company name plus the exclusive locations. So because China is quite big, generally we will have the north, south, west, and east. So you can have the city-specific store, as in let's say Four Pillars Shanghai exclusive store on Tmall. So I can also operating these stores within Tmall, but only covering Shanghai city in China. So this is the 3 type of the store. So as a brand, you can have as many authorized store you wish, and those stores are generally operating by the distributor, or you can hire a trade partner to operate it for you. And the specialty stores doesn't necessarily using your brand name because they are selling multiple brands within the Tmall, but you can supply your product to their store. So this is generally operated by a distributor or reseller. And then is the Tmall stores examples. As I mentioned, those are 3 type of the store, but still you can leverage different capability of the trade partners or your distributor. Most of the distributor, they have their specialty stores that you can work with multiple of them, and they can also be your trade partner for your authorized store. And flagship store, you can have your own team to operating it, or you have a service provider that help you to operating it. And then is the Tmall Global, which I spend a little bit of time. I think it's worth to give you more detail of how this works. As the Tmall Global, there's what people probably talk about the CBAC. CBAC, it's like a cross-border e-commerce. So it's featuring like a special design for overseas brand and merchants, allowing them to sell import goods directly to Chinese consumers. And the brands do not need to establish a physical company in China, which is really good for a brand that who just start looking to this market. And through the cross-border Tmall global stores, that all the cross-border logistic and the customer clearance service will be done by the Tmall global team. So it's very easy and cost-efficient way for you to test this water, and also you can use this as the trialing period to see what sort of the attractions of your product in China market, and to collect some insight and feedback. Excuse me. And then there's an advantage of this is a simplify the process for the overseas brand to enter the China market, and also the goods can be sold through bonded zone or direct shipping method. So this is I think it's a special programs that the Tmall has introduced to incubating any small to medium sized business, and without requiring a huge investment to the e-commerce in China. This is a really straightforward and also low budget requirement trial. So for the feedback, I just was to mention like the Tmall Global is still number one in feedback share. A lot of the business, not only wineries, but like personal cares and the skin cares, supplements brand from Australia or rest of the world, they generally will start with the feedback stores to going and selling to China, just because you can leverage the tax-free and also tax support from the government, and also majority of the consumers, when they are looking for overseas brand, they will always go into the Tmall Global because they know this is 100% authentic coming from the overseas or the destination countries, and only overseas brands can use the Tmall Global to sell. So in terms of the top of mind awareness, Tmall Global is ranking number one by Chinese consumers. So in terms of the supply coverage, they have so far more than 46,000 brands, overseas brands are selling and operating the Tmall Global across 6,000 plus categories and also 90 plus countries and regions. So it's a pretty mature industry category and the channels. And this is the preferred choice for consumers and the brands as well. For the Tmall Global, that the consumer's first choice there is top of the mind for the imported goods, and also the first stop for overseas brands, and also the completed infrastructure for back that within the Tmall ecosystem, there's an international logistic and also the international payment transaction services that enable you to do international business without putting the effort of register all those paperwork in China. So in terms of the advantages, the lower duties and also original labeling. So you don't need to have the registered product with the Chinese label of your product. You're selling exactly the same product as you're selling in Australia or Victoria. So it's directly shipping to the consumers, whether through the free trade zone warehouses or directly from the warehouses in Australia. And also less documents and certifications, and the great connections that the Tmall Global team can put you in touch with the international business. And also by using local inventories to test the water, and also there's a direct shipping models through the Tmall Global team. And for the consumers on Tmall Global, they service over 100 million imported consumers, which are outstanding consumers asset and a strong premium user growth. Most of the people, when they come into the Tmall Global, they have a mindset or expectation as they are paying international price because they are receiving international products. So most of the VIP users are on the Tmall Global, and 70% users or consumers are female, and Gen Z people is actually growing and ranking around 67% now. So the young people are very much in favor and continue to grow to have this awareness and also preference of purchasing the imported products. Some examples or the stores that who are leveraging the Tmall Global stores to have their China market operated. So the Tmall Global same to all the Tmall flagship store as well. You have live streaming services that you can tap into and having those 24 hours live streaming sales, and also you can have the overseas content, which is very interesting that if you're not aware of the censorship in China, unfortunately, like the flagship store, like general trade flagship stores in China, most of the content will be restricted to the local, for example, the Chinese speaker content. So English is not allowed within the general trade stores, but for the Tmall Global stores, that you can have the English content, you can have the live streamer who are not Chinese, and all of this content are allowed, which is very interesting and tricky. Sometimes that the brands that came to us to say, oh, I've just run into some troubles that after I stopped my live streaming for like 2 minutes, my store got shut down. I don't know why. And when we're looking into that, it's because their stores is actually the Tmall general trade stores, and they are live streaming through English. So this is actually forbidden, and also the content needs to be in Chinese if your store is general trade. However, if you are using the Tmall Global stores and doing the live streaming there, you can speak English and you can have the non-Chinese live streamer there, which is very unique. And also the global influencer network is enabled to the Tmall Global stores that to leverage your local Chinese what we call it as a KOLs, to spread the voice and also to building the credentials where your product is actually very famous and also authentic in the original countries. And then those influencers or KOLs that can help you to create a bigger awareness in China and towards the end consumers. And also there's a Tmall Global private domain enabled just for the overseas brands that to have a dedicated asset and dedicate consumer traffic to your store. And every day they have different campaigns that the brand can tap into, can participate to create your awareness and also to drive different conversions to your store. So it's very much supported, and incubating programs enable the overseas brand to test the water. So these are one of the IOF program within the Tmall store. I just quickly mentioned. So this is the abundant warehouses that enable the Victoria or Australian business that to work with the Tmall Global team in Melbourne, which they have 2 to 3 warehouses that you can store your product in the Tmall warehouses, and your product will be dispatched to the end consumers directly. So it's still part of the Tmall Global Saveback, but the IOF program is the store, your product is within the free trade zone, and you don't have to work with any distributor. You can just work with the Tmall Global directly. So you can think as a Tmall Global as your distributor. So they are operating the rest of the logistic and operating this store for you. So So far, the Tmall Global IOF program has 29,000 brands across almost 6,000 categories. So it's very mature, and also they have a different warehouses that enable the brands to use. And how this works, as I mentioned, you can think the Tmall Global IOF team as your distributor, but they are not trying to make money from selling your products. They just make a small commissions that to cover the labor work, but enable you to tap into this water without investing hugely on the e-commerce store. So the IOF program that is the Tmall Global team that incubating program. So they will support by a lot of the free traffic from the different marketing banners, and also they have a different programs that for free enable the brands to have some attractions in the market. So the brands will work with the Tmall warehouses, and the warehouses will do the consignment and directly import through the IOF program to ship towards the consumers. So this is a streamlined process for brands to directly selling to the consumers. And also the warehouses will take the responsibility of managing your stocks and dispatch your product and do the weekly or monthly reconciliation of your stores and sales data. So generally, the warehouses were at 10% of the margin and the plus $1 per unit for the packing cost. And also, once they are ready and uploaded to the Tmall Global stores and the logistic, once the consumer purchase the product, they will have 5 to 10% of the commissions taken by the Tmall IOFF team. So this is the similar process of how you normally would work with a distributor, but they are not trying to take like 30 to 50% of the margin like most of the distributors do, but they're trying to streamline this process and selling directly to the consumers for you. Quick overview of the onboarding process if timeline. I'll have this slide for you. If you are interested, you can come back to these workshops and to have a read of the time. But generally speaking, it's about 1 to 1.5 months process to set up your stores on the Tmall Global IOF. Oops. And yeah, so I think this is more for the Tmall and Tmall Global different options there for you. And beyond that, there are also other e-commerce for food and beverage I mentioned in the workshop too. So JD, Pinduoduo, and Alibaba, they have different purpose and also still a big market shares within the e-commerce in China. If you heard about Tmall, you probably heard about JD as well. So JD is also very big influence and also marketplaces for the food and beverage, especially alcohol. 10 years ago or in the past, that JD is very famous for the beverage category, which aligned with their target audience. So it's very suitable for wine and high-end, fast-moving consumer goods sales. And Pinduoduo is more towards the low and mid-range market positioning. People are coming to the Pinduoduo are looking for the cheap price and the cheap product. So it's slightly different market positioning. And Alibaba is another one that is very much focused on the B2B for the wholesale business. We quickly look into the JD. So the JD is similar to Tmall, that you can have the self-operated model, or you work with the distributor that to operating your flagship store over there. And same to Tmall, JD also has the cross-border, but the rest of the operations are very much the same. You either work with your distributor to have your flagship store, or you supply your stock to the JD stores that most of the distributor would have a store over there. And those are the two big marketplaces. Will have the shopping festivals such as the mid-year sales, 18th of June, and also the Double 11, Double 12. Also, JD has a special wine classified and category that just selling wine and alcohol. So it's very do a favor to the winery industry. And also they have so many other support from the JD that to incubate and also to support the wineries from overseas to sell in China. So these are some examples of the stores that from the JD, self-operated stores mode. So more or less the same to the other marketplaces. You can search and you can have the logistics services. So one thing within the JD store is they have what they call is deliver in a second promotions. So most of the winery stores or the alcohol stores that within the JD, they need to be kind of like a participate within this delivery within a minute promotion or campaigns, which give it a lot of pressure for the stores that to make sure that the product is delivered within the minutes or within the second to the store. So which is good for the consumers if they want to some wineries within a very short period of time for the occasion, like a social gatherings or the family gatherings, and they're just running out of the alcohol or the wine, so they can straight away go into the JD and get the wine or the product that delivered within a minute. So this is the very specific for JD, which they are good at it. And also the platform also have the different promotion campaigns that you can participate in, shopping festival, as I mentioned, and also the categories that if people are looking for the white wine or red wine, there's a specific promotions and also categories pages that they can go into. And of course, they're similar to all the other marketplaces. Consumers are encouraged to share their reviews, experience through the platform, so to give those feedback and a testimonial to the future consumers that they can take a reference on. And Pinduoduo, I won't spend too much on the Pinduoduo yet, just because for most of the Victorian wineries, I believe, given the brand positioning in the market and also the price range that we are selling, probably not the most suitable product for. Not the most suitable platform for your brand, unless you are offering some like a table wines or the very low price tier wine. Pinduoduo is a good option that you can sell in bulk, and people are looking for very cheap wines that not necessarily as the people who are looking for very fine taste of a wine, but it is for very cheap and table wine. So they have some social group buying, slightly different mechanism from Temu and the JD. They like to have those people who wants to buy in a bulk, and also friends and family, if they buy together, they will have a discount. So it's very much similar to Temu if you are using that in Australia. So every time when you open the app, you will receive a lot of the promotion that you can get even without browsing any products. So this is how Pinduoduo is working in China. Alibaba, which is in another platform as the B2B platform, you can have your product listed on the Alibaba that are looking for the resellers that who wants to import your product. So this is a slightly different from the B2C like Temu and the JD. This is absolutely just the B2B platform. Very much the different process and also the logistic and the consumer support, because you are working in or trading in B2B, so you need to have your wholesale price listed over there, and also your MOQ, like a minimum order component over there for your potential resellers or distributor to have a reference to start with. And then some other e-commerce for food and beverage outside of the Temu, JD, Pinduoduo. The social e-commerce, as I mentioned in the workshop 2, is also very much the mainstream now. People are purchasing across Temu, JD, Pinduoduo, as well as the Little Red Book, WeChat, and also Douyin. So those are the 6 of the major marketplaces, I would say, for any products that who wants to have a market share on the e-commerce. But they still operate slightly different. We will have the future workshops that are talking about the social e-commerce platform. Yeah. And the last part, I just wanted to give you more guidance of how to formalize your e-commerce strategy down the track, that if you're in the positioning of designing your e-commerce or your e-commerce channels. So for the short-term e-commerce strategy, our recommendation is to look into some faster market entry options instead of having a huge effort that you need to put in to fund the team's resource or the finance investment, etc. So just start with something small and something that you can control and easily to pivot your directions based on the market insight and feedback, such as leveraging the Tmall global stores as initially as the testing and trying to see what sort of the attractions and the feedback from the market towards your products, and you can pivot and also get some insight of whether you are positioning in the right pricing or whether those label or the tastes are suitable for the market. So this is a very I would say cost efficient way for brands to leverage and to try. And also for the marketing promotion strategies that I think can leveraging those shopping festivals such as the Double 11, which is coming up very shortly, to have those focused sales period time that people are in the mindset of purchasing something. So this is some promotion period that you can keep in mind when you're launching your product in China through the e-commerce. And there are so many support and programs that are available from those marketplaces that you can leverage on. And the third one, which is Tmall Brands Promotion Resource. As I mentioned, there's so many different paid advertising options that Tmall and also different marketplaces are enable. Have some traffic that come into your stores initially, just give you a more exposure that to test the water and also to understand whether this is the right market for you or maybe whether this is the right product for you for this market as well. So this is the map that I just thought to mapping out as the short-term e-commerce strategy. Start with the faster market entry options such as the Tmall global stores and building your initial consumers, whether it's in Australia Chinese consumers or through those KOLs who can leverage and building your credentials from Australia towards the end consumers. By this time, you will be able to receive enough insights and the feedback from the market that to make your decision of the second stage. And then through different market promotional strategies like the grand opening promotions and bundled up of your product and the discount, the shopping festival, etc. Those are the good leverage that you can have to quickly fast track of your sales data. And some other resource that from the Tmall team like Alimama, they have the paid ads options that you can quickly drive the conversion back to your store to consumers. So this is a very much like a short-term e-commerce strategy that you can take away. And once you have the Tmall global stores success, and then you can think of what sort of the next step that you can have for your long-term strategy. Which is have to build your solid brand foundations, because in the first period of time during the trial, you will have the feedback from the consumers whether they think your taste is actually really acquired, and also they prefer your white wine rather than your red wine. So those are the insights that you can collect and also formalizing your long-term strategy, and keep testing and keep learning, and then to build your solid brand foundations from your brand as well as your product offering range. So you need to understand, also set up your positioning in the market to say, I want the consumer to know my brand as, for example, premium wine or affordable wine, or what's the USPs that you want to promote your brand in the market. The key was that you want the consumers to remember your brand as. This is the foundation that you need to think of. It's similar to all the other markets that you're entering, including Australia. You want what sort of the brand you want to position in the market, and then leverage the Tmall brand database to build your consumer portfolios and also to continue driving the sales through deep understanding of their behaviors, their preference, and also keep optimizing your product from the pricing, from your labeling, from the flavors. Maybe you can have you can introduce China specific wine that only cater to these demographics. So those are all the options that you can think of later on for the long-term strategy, from your MPD and also from your sales channels, and also have the deep collaborations through your resellers, distributors, and also have a think about those options of the marketplaces. You don't have to stick with the one. Once you go online for your long term, you want as many exposures as possible, but of course within your control to be able to manage your stocks and also be able to manage your stores within your capacity. So Tmall is the let's say the long-term e-commerce strategy that you probably wants to get into. The examples here, as in for example, the Painful flagship store, they have their own flagship store, but at the same time that they have multiple reseller stores are selling the Painful. But within the flagship store of Painful, that they have excellent customer services that the people can directly purchase through the Tmall store as well as the flagship store general trade. And depends on the promotions, they have a different bundles, they have a festival label that they are introducing just specifically for Chinese New Year, for example, for the Valentine's Day, for the corporate scenarios that they are introducing the ranges. And also continue to build your brand recognitions and awareness to be able to ranking the higher the better. So when people are searching for your brand, and also they have in mind of I'm looking for example, Chardonnay, they will think about your brand. That's just the brand records that you can build as we go. And through the Tmall and the brand events, that whether it's online or offline, those are the touch points that you can link in your brand towards your e-commerce, and also leverage your offline stores exposure to build those consumer journeys. As I mentioned previously in the last workshops, there are multiple journeys that you can influence people to purchase your product. So never underestimate any exposure opportunities that you can have in the market. And some case study here, short term. So this is the Painful examples. Again, like they entered the Tmall Global as the first stage to leverage the support from the Tmall Global's free trade, and also the quick support from the incubation program that they have. A lot of the traffic and the promotion inventories that enable the brands to leverage on. And also they just continue to build their brand awareness through the marketing activities to become the number one brand recognized in the wine industry during the Double 11 shopping festival. So this is really good campaigns that they've done. And also through the platform data, they understand their consumers' behavior, and they have their hero products to promote it towards the consumers that who has been segmented based on their CRM data. They have a very specifically product to push towards the right customers. So this is optimization later on you can do for the long term. And then they can introduce like a Painful day because they have enough customer data that they can actually have a dedicated campaign promotion day just for themselves. And they have some different events that just to organizing across different cities to have those offline touch point for the consumers that to engaging with the brand, to taste and experience, and to really feeling what the brand is trying to deliver in the market. And they have the different representative in the market to have the stores, to have the different ranges that to promote towards the consumers. And this is the last but not least, a process for your business if you are looking to the flagship store on Tmall, the opening process. So for the flagship stores, you have the business online from the brand foundations, and advantage of that is the full component that within the Tmall that you can leverage on for the consumer database, marketing campaigns, and the collaborating events with the Tmall. The business process from the merchant warehouse to the orders that consumers, everything is directly linking back to your merchants of your flagship store. You can think as that you're operating your own e-commerce in Australia with your website that people are purchasing directly. So everything is consistent also from the back end that you can access, and also build your CRM. Yeah, so I think that's coming to the right time. Not sure if you have any questions so far, but I think today's session is really much talked about the Tmall ecosystem and also those major marketplaces that you can leverage on for your short-term and long-term strategy for your e-commerce. I understand that you might working with a distributor for the offline trading, supply to the restaurants, hospitality groups, etc. And e-commerce is also a big component that you probably wants to think of for your long-term strategy to increase your market shares and also market coverage, given that the consumers' behaviors is more and more towards online shopping, and there's so many strong incentive for consumers to purchase online on the alcohol and the wine category. I see John has asked what's the cost of set up the Tmall Global Store. So the two top of the Tmall Global Stores, as I mentioned, so one is through the IOF program. So within this program, you can think this as incubation program from the Tmall Global. So you don't need to pay any deposit or the bond money. So you only need to provide your wholesale price. When I say wholesale price, it's not as the same as wholesale price that you supply to Dan Murphy. You can just work out what's the minimum orders, and also generally speaking, higher than your wholesale price to the Dan Murphys, but slightly lower than your retail price in Australia. So this is the price that you can give to the Tmall Global team on the IOFF, and then they will work out the rest. So this is basically the cost that you need to pay. And they take commissions based on the numbers of the sales. So this is the IOF. But if you work on the Tmall Global stores, which is a CBAC stores, depends on the model, whether you are working with bonded warehouses directly, or if you're working with the distributors who are operating those warehouses, the free trade zone warehouses. And the bond or the deposit that you're paying generally is paid by your distributor. Or unless you are operating these stores yourself, then the cost is slightly different. Depends on the numbers of SKUs. So if you're interested later on, feel free to send Halani a direct message or myself. We can work out what's the cost for your business based on the numbers of the SKUs that you are willing to set up. But Tmall Global stores are much, much cheaper than the Tmall flagship store. So yeah. And yeah.
Perfect. So I don't think we've got any other questions, but just thank you everybody for joining us on our third workshop of this series. And thank you so much, Christy, for hosting the workshop for us as well. If you do find that you have any other questions after the session, feel free to send me an email, and I'll more than happy to forward them on to Christy as well. Just a reminder that all these sessions are recorded, and this will be available early next week, and a link to the recording will be circulated to you early next week. So thank you all again for joining, and we look forward to seeing you all back online next week, Friday, for workshop number 4.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Halani. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.